speculation at the press conference last night that, you know, should Jimmy Spittle be steering, but I think the reality is there's probably 6 guys in the world who've done enough practice in these boats to be able to steer them, and 4 of them have been knocked out of this competition already, and these are the best 2 left. So it stays very much the same on board. It's the same crew. I think the changes we can expect to see on Oracle Team USA are under the bonnet. They're going to be things we can't see, you know, in the boat. The crew, you know, is all the same. Emirates Team New Zealand, well, why would you change anything when it's going that well, really? I mean, they've got that same, going to become the all-star lineup on the boat really now, with Pete Burling, Glenn Ashby, Blair Tuke, really making the boat go fast. We obviously heard about Pete's kind of, you know, date with destiny today, or however it's going to be put down, but he looked so unruffled yesterday that it's just really exciting to see how he goes out and approach the start. And then the guys at the front, I can't imagine they're going to be lacking motivation to keep the boat full of power and ready to go for him today.
Yeah, the Cyclo is providing the hydraulic power that not just makes these boats move, but allows movement of every single appendage, every item on it, of the wing, of everything. Now look, there's a detailed look at the forecast and indeed what it is now, so 8 to 10 knots, and the direction as well of wind. Yeah,
I mean, it's basically the same as Jimmy's, Matt. I mean, you've been out in that wind direction. What?
Yeah, it's a little bit shifty because it's coming over the hills. There's a hotel, big hotel on the hill, and there's a few islands over in that direction. So it will be a little bit shiftier than we've seen, but it's also light too, and it just feels like it's softening already. And I think that's really going to favour the Kiwis even more than we've seen in the last few days. It could be a little bit lighter than what we've seen there.
Can I just ask you a quick question about America's Cup rules?
Yeah.
We are not going to see anything here a la Michael Schumacher on Damon Hill, or indeed what Sebastian Vettel did to Lewis Hamilton yesterday.
I mean, the hashtag is there is no second. So, you know, it's about winning, and I mean, there's rules in sailing that they have to abide to, but if you can manipulate those rules to your advantage, then if there's contact and you're in the right, then that's the other person's problem. So there is an element that the Kiwis probably need to think, let's keep out of trouble. I mean, I think you could argue the Emirates Team New Zealand have approached a lot of the event like that. Let's keep clear and just let's run away.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. It's the right-away boat. If they're the one with the contact, then, you know, so it's not like the Americans can just go out there and hit the Kiwis, because the judges will say, well, that's not right, and they'll get pinged, they'll be disqualified from the race, the win goes to Emirates Team New Zealand, and then you can start popping champagne corks.
So you can use the rules to your advantage, but you can't hit them below the belt, basically. So they're going to have to use those rules wisely if Oracle want to do it. But yeah, I mean, anything's possible. You know, it's coming. It is last chance saloon for Oracle now, but I would expect them to go out and make it a fair fight.
Tom Slingsby there, who has also got a lot on his plate. It's Jimmy Spittle who's been taking the pressure of the attention, because he's the one that has to front up at the press conferences, but all of them will be feeling that they bear responsibility for the position they find themselves in, and they are looking at last chance saloon here. They have to win this race. They have to win the next race, the next race, the next race after that, if they are to retain the America's Cup. Whereas Emirates Team New Zealand know that they only have to win one race, and it will be theirs. And for Pete Burling, that would be a remarkable achievement. His friend Blair Tuke there, with whom he carried the flag at the Olympic opening ceremony. This is it. It's D-Day. Let's join Ken Reid and Ali Eakin.
So we have a great day in store, and once more the team's ready to go head-to-head in this incredible setting. Ken, the course.
Well, on the Great Sound of Bermuda today, the perfect racetrack again for the 35th America's Cup. The T-shaped race course includes a 2-minute start sequence followed by the critical reach to Mark 1. 5 legs with and against the light 10-knot southerly breeze, followed by a quick sprint to the finish just meters off of America's Cup Village.
So the battle line's drawn, the start line will emerge shortly, and a couple of different options for the 2 crews, but it is time now for the Pitbull to bare his teeth. Jimmy Spithill has not been himself in recent days. He took full responsibility for the mistakes that cost his team yesterday, even a suggestion that he might even take himself off the helm today. Surely only ever a fleeting idea. Peter Burling has taken it all in his stride.
4 to kill, 2 to kill, 1 to kill, on time.
So the USA have port entry for this first race of the day. They have a head start of 10 seconds into the entry box. It's been a very significant part of every single race, and one in which Burling has got the better of Spithill by and large, certainly twice yesterday. Let's have a word with Freddie Carr, who's a key member of the British team out here. He's out on the water for us. Freddie, do you expect Spithill to go on the attack here or try to maybe keep his nose clean?
No, I expect Spithill to go on the attack. He'll be channeling the inner James Spithill of 2000 when he burst onto the America's Cup scene with Young Australia and dominated the pre-starts, and he needs to dominate this pre-start and get on the front foot.
Freddie, I think we heard Jimmy Spithill talk about how they're in a very light air package today, maybe even their light air boards, which I'm not so sure they're super fond of. With all that said, I think that even lends more towards what you say. He has to be aggressive because they might not be as quick today.
No, I completely agree there, Ken. They're on their big foils, so it's a repeat of last Saturday where they lost the initial 2 matches. So for that reason, I think they need to get off the line cleanly and get to Mark 1 first.
Race number 9 of the America's Cup match underway. It could be the last as the New Zealanders aim to make history. The eyes of the sporting world now focused firmly on the Great Sound. Who's got the upper hand in this pre-start game of cat and mouse, Kenny?
Well, you can see that Oracle has chosen to kind of hang back behind Emirates Team New Zealand right now. That gives them more options, believe it or not. If they get overlapped, which they're kind of swirling around right now, that takes away that hook option. I really thought Spithill would absolutely be going for it right now, but it looks like he's looking to gap off, possibly start towards the top end of the line. Remember, the right-hand end of the line up at the top of our screen, right up there, that's actually a little bit further away from the first mark, but it's always a faster angle. So let's see if they can make that faster angle work. This time and distance has been a problem for Jimmy Spithill. Let's see if it is today.
So he's pulled the trigger. Has he gone too soon? Looks like it's going to be just fine this time around. And the 2 boats straight up on the foils. The Americans just about in front and tearing towards Mark 1. So critical that Jimmy Spithill and his team got away to a clean start, a quick start.
They have to be first to this mark. Ali, they just have to be. They need it for their own psyche. They need it for simply their chance to win this race. They need to get over the top of Emirates Team New Zealand for a chance to win this race. And it looks like they might have pulled it off. You see they're actually sailing below the mark right now. There you go. 2 out of 7, I think, in these starts so far. So Spithill finally got one in. Man, did he need it.
Good boat speed from the Americans as well as they turn around the first mark and head downwind for the first time in this race, and the Kiwis in behind them. They've been very happy through the course of our time here in Bermuda to play catch-up. They've bided their time. They've waited for the wind shifts, secure in the knowledge that their boat is quick.
Let's start canting. Stand by. Okay. Happy. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. Made.
So the Kiwis first to jibe, the Americans right on the boundary.
This is, I think the whole world is just holding their breath if you're an Oracle fan right now. That jibe was so critical. They stayed on their foils, but they're in a very precarious spot right now. Any speed edge to Emirates Team New Zealand, and then they can do a little reversal here and roll over the top. Doesn't seem like Spithill's too concerned, but I'll tell you what, that's really close to being a disastrous spot for Oracle right there.
Let's get to them. Windward heel, guys. We're pretty low. Yeah, we've got
Neck and neck right now.
Oh, and they have gotten over the top. Oracle is in a tough spot. Emirates Team New Zealand just barely bow out, potentially using their wing wash to slow down Oracle. They were quicker off the jibe again, yet again. How many times have we said that in this series? Just a tiny, this is why we always say the fastest boat wins the America's Cup. That tiny speed edge right there goes from behind to ahead in a heartbeat for Emirates Team New Zealand.
There's the wing wash, which the Kiwis will be hoping will spoil the Americans there and slow them up just sufficiently to allow them to extend their lead at this point. They're going all the way to the ley line, the ideal route in to the gate without any further maneuvers.
Albatross. Albatross. Stay here. Okay, stand by.
Into gate 2 with the New Zealanders out in front, looking to claim the trophy, to claim their place in history. The Americans already, even at this early stage in the race, with plenty to do.
An albatross. Clearly, we all wanted to find out what an albatross that was there. That was a super difficult maneuver by Oracle, and you can see they're paying dearly in boat speed for having to do that last second spin around the mark. They did it pretty well, but I'll tell you what, that was not pretty, and that was not easy to do.
So the New Zealanders leading the race, the Americans taking off in a separate direction to try to chase a little bit of wind and find a way back in here, because that lead is being built all the time by Peter Burling's men.
That split became so critical for Oracle that they decided to do really one of the hardest maneuvers in these boats in match racing, and they need that split to continue to possibly gobble up that lead, because Emirates Team New Zealand is in their standard way. They're not slow, and they're not getting any closer. Look at the speed difference, 23 knots to 20 knots right there.
And as the Americans pulled back their curtains this morning, they will have known that in these conditions, the Kiwi boat unquestionably has an edge. We've seen it throughout our time here.
Well, Glenn Ashby and Peter Burling, you see Glenn Ashby twiddling his knobs there down in the bottom right-hand side of the corner, just kind of trying to do his thing with his box, with the X-box display, controlling the wing shape and trim.
There again, the foiling tack, such a slick maneuver. And already this lead is looking like a very significant one for Emirates Team New Zealand.
Going out to Freddie Carr in the water. Freddie, the breeze is still around kind of that 8-9 knots. Is there a general trend here?
Yeah, the breeze is still 8-9 knots. It's just like yesterday. There's 2-minute oscillations flicking left and right. Ken, the no-look jibe by the Kiwis on the boundary was unbelievable. Glenn Ashby was halfway across the boat as the boat was getting turned down. That was superb boat handling by the Kiwis.
So we have a no-look jibe and an albatross so far in this race. Ali, we thought we had heard it all, and we haven't.
But they're pushing the boundaries. They love it, don't they? The innovators, they've been setting the agenda not just on the course, but off as well, with their designs and their techniques, their tactics.
Yeah. Slowly tick off that way, Blanger. 20 seconds. Okay, 10 seconds. Yep. Let's stand by there, guys. Okay, boys. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Jimmy Spithill, with all of his experience, needing to draw upon the great maturity of it right now. Twice an America's Cup winner in 2010 and 2013. But at the moment, staring down the barrel.
This could be a possible little right-hand wind shift on it. You see up in the upper left-hand corner that the angle of Emirates Team New Zealand kind of curling down. Very often that means the wind shift is going the other way. Looks to me like when these guys come back together again, they're going to be a little bit closer.
Just a little
One.
Keeping it close, Oracle.
Take it up if you've got it. Yep. Good pressure now.
Well, you always talk about that 150-meter mark, Ken, as being just about in the realms of being in touch, staying in touch, having the opportunity to turn it around. One mistake and you can edge in front. Get too much beyond that and it becomes much more difficult. They're right on the cusp of that kind of threshold right now.
It's still phenomenal to watch these tacks, how just flawless they've become, how stable the boat becomes, how quickly they fling the thing over.
And once they've maneuvered, the cyclones go to work, generating that power, pushing the oil around the system to allow them a little bit of tactical freedom. Decisions can be made at that point once the power levels are back up where they need them.
Interesting, even in the 9 knots of breeze, they're all on their medium air jibs, their code 2 jibs today. I kind of expected in this lighter breeze, and maybe throw it back out to Freddie for a second. Why aren't they going with their bigger jibs today, Freddie?
Yeah, it's a trend that we've seen throughout this America's Cup. When you're on the long foils, you don't need quite as much sail area in the sky to get them working, and it comes down to drag through the air as well as drag through the water.
Quite a big speed discrepancy between the two boats, obviously currently heading in separate directions. The Kiwis were motoring away from the gate at around 30 knots. The USA struggling into it at around 20. They seem to have leveled off though a little bit here.
90 seconds. Average to right. Average.
What are you picking out of that, Kelly?
Average VMG, look at the VMG difference. You know, it's interesting, the boat speeds, we keep seeing the boat speeds being very similar. Emirates Team New Zealand points higher to the wind. Let's just all be, let's just call it what it is. And by doing that, their average VMG is almost a knot faster around the race course. That's the velocity made good. That's the difference of angle to the mark and speed to the mark. They're just sailing a tighter angle to the mark all the time, both upwind and down.
All business on board Emirates Team New Zealand, all done with the minimum of fuss. There, the two wings side by side.
Yeah, the two wing trims are very, very different.
Okay, a little softer.
Again, it's Ashby with that box, no winch, no nothing. He's just sitting there hydraulically controlling it. Very often the differences we see are up top. Down low, Kyle Langford probably moves the whole wing around a little bit more, but as we go up, I'm not sure we'll see it as much downwind, but upwind, especially at the very top, that is where the control of Emirates Team New Zealand seems to be substantially different and more efficient than the rest of the teams here. Glenn Ashby's constantly moving the twist of the wing around. Just like if you're in a one design keel boat, for example, pulling the backstay on and letting the backstay off all the time for those sailors out there. Well, that's kind of what Ashby does, and it's been incredibly efficient. It just doesn't trim it in and out conventionally nearly as much as others do.
Great shot from the drone as Glenn Ashby heads across the trampoline, takes the helm for a moment until Peter Burling arrives. And they just have this brilliant distribution of responsibility that works so well for them. Glenn Ashby, the man one in front of Burling, something of a catamaran guru, multiple world champion, and a big influence, by the way, on Jimmy Spithill's development with the multi-hulls.
Yeah, I watched he and Jimmy Spithill crew for him in what was called the Little America's Cup. I believe it's the C-Class World Championship in Newport, Rhode Island. Jimmy Spithill crewing for Glenn Ashby way back when. It seemed like forever ago.
Partners turned adversaries. And the Kiwis through the gate. Upwind one more time. And this time going with an early tack.
This is just to control the race course, knowing full well that Oracle Team USA was going to have to split and do something. This is a traditional kind of match racing move. You go around the most efficient mark and then you tack early. You're going to give up a little bit of your lead, but you know what? When these guys get around the mark, you're going to be pretty close to the same water and the same puff or wind shift that your competitor is in.
Just over your shoulder. A little bit of speed on here. You're working, boys. Okay, let's stand by there, guys. Build on. Yep, copy. Okay, boys, here we go. 4, 3, 2, 1. On, mate. And turning, mate.
So the Americans still in touch just about, but they have to be a little concerned at this point with time beginning to tick against them. The defenders of the America's Cup. There will be a quiet realization that this might be over in the not too distant future.
Everything you got on this lap, boys. Leave it all out, boys. Faster, boys. Let's dig up. Nice, boys. A little fast, Tommy. Happy 20, yeah. Happy a little fast, just a little. Probably there, right? This is good, yeah, no lower.
Lots of positivity, that's good to hear.
Lots of positivity. I think exactly what you would expect to hear from these guys, quite frankly.
This one, and then you got lift coming. Lift in 2, 1. Good pressure there now. Happy BMG again. Taking a little bit. Yeah. Nice. Happy to be a little faster still. Boundaries going quick. Yeah, 20 seconds. Let's stand by. Here we go. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Emirates Team New Zealand did those 2 extra tacks at the bottom mark. Certainly gave up a bit of their lead, but I would guess that Emirates Team New Zealand fans are far more comfortable in this position right now with a 150-meter lead than complete opposite sides of the race course with a 250-meter lead. You're vulnerable here. You're not very vulnerable.
It's that arm's length thing.
Exactly.
Keeping them where they want them.
Looking up the backside of these wings again, looking to try to prove me correct on Emirates Team New Zealand, but they seem pretty quiet with the top section of the foil right now. We were looking for that hummingbird concept that Freddie Carr introduced to us the other day, and it's not exactly there right now. But listen, this is again what we talked about earlier. This is the one mistake zone, you know? The problem is, Kiwis just don't seem to be making any mistakes. Look at that. Classic match racing right now.
Well, he was criticised earlier on in the match itself, wasn't he, Burling, for not covering Jimmy Spithill and Oracle Team USA. Seems to have rectified that in pretty much every department. Simon van Veldhoven, again, right up towards his absolute max heart rate. The bronze medalist from London 2012. New experiences for him out here on the water, as we were telling you earlier. Not least the day that the Kiwi boat disappeared upside down. 1 minute you're cycling, next minute you're gargling.
This is going to be one and in for both boats. Now the Kiwis will make sure they lay the mark. Oracle attacks early again. They're just trying to do anything right now. Desperation again is trying to take over. This is why the grinding is going on all the time. The cyclists creating hydraulic pressure on the Kiwi boat, on the boat on the right, on the boat on the left. Certainly Team USA doing it a little more conventionally with coffee grinding, with the grinding pedestals. One interesting part of this, and maybe we bring Freddie Carr in for a second. One interesting part is the Americans seem to, on the left, the port starboard, that is the board up down. And Freddie, you can help me with this. The board up down is a different, what's called an accumulator, pressure accumulator, than actually moving the appendages around. That's a completely separate entity, and we see that on the right, and that number seems to move a lot more on the American boat.
That's right, Ken. So you have lift accumulators for dropping and lifting the boards, and then you have a rake accumulator. The big gain that the Kiwis have is they can fill that rake accumulator so quickly and set them up for their next tackle jibe.
Freddie was telling me earlier, he thinks that the Kiwis, now that he's not in the Cup, he can admit that the Kiwis might have about 30% more effort, more pressure
Yeah, that's right, Ken, about 30%.
So the Kiwis needed one more tack to get into the gate and round. And that means that the USA have gained on them just a little bit.
You know, it's interesting, they have this close tactic. Definitely closed up the lead a little bit, but again, they're in the same water. There's Oracle just again doing everything to get to a different side of the race course. Splitting yet again, choosing to do another tack, anything.
Well, that's a roll of the dice, isn't it?
Absolutely.
By Jimmy Spithill with one downwind leg to go. He's got to roll the dice. He's got to come out punching.
Great pressure here for us.
Peter Burling and the Kiwis calling the shots at the moment, dominating the race course.
Nice, mate. This side 20. Yeah, copy. Coming down slow. Stand by. One off. Happy? Four. Happy? 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1, mate. A little lighter here. Little lighter.
Jive is clean from the Americans. They've looked a little more stable today than at times yesterday, where they were distinctly wobbly.
It's certainly their longer boards are helping. Listen, the Americans through this series have gotten better and better at their tacks, at their jives, at their maneuvers. The problem is the bar has been set very high by that other boat who's just kind of constantly kicking their butt. Let's be frank, it's not. This is a bit of a caning going on here right now in this America's Cup, and quite frankly, something I don't think anybody really anticipated. We anticipated these guys to be good. I don't think anybody anticipated them, the Kiwis, to be this good. Except maybe them.
Peter Burling at the moment with his foot on the American jugular, looking to go in for the kill pretty soon now. Got to admire the calm, the composure, the measured approach which this man has brought to proceedings all across this 5 weeks of racing on the Great Sound. Think back just a few weeks ago to when their boat was in shreds after that dramatic pitch pole. And not just him, of course, the shore team who put it all back together.
And don't forget the millions of Kiwis that are up watching this right now. I think it's about 5 in the morning back on that little island, and they're just licking their chops right now. They're saying, Auckland, here we come.
2 islands, Kenny. 2 islands.
Sorry, 2 islands. Sorry.
Digesting their early morning cornflakes, wiping the sleep from their eyes, and recognizing that their team is close now. Very, very close indeed.
Could be 2 more jives in, though. Possibly 1 more jive in. Let's see if they can soak down, because this is kind of an interesting angle into the finish line. Let's see if they can soak and get there.
So the USA desperately trying to chase the Kiwis down, but the game is up. There will be no fairy tale comeback this time around. Jimmy Spithill has lost his magic wand, and in the meantime, the Kiwis, innovative in their design, intense in their focus, resilient throughout the time here in Bermuda. The New Zealanders pedaling into the history books. The America's Cup wrestled from the USA by Burling's men in black. The trophy belongs to New Zealand. All that heartache and pain of San Francisco replaced by jubilation here in Bermuda. And 4.5 million people on the other side of the planet let out an almighty roar. The Americans' challenge is over. The defense of their crown is over.
My wing.
It's been a brave fight. They've done everything within their powers to make it more competitive, but ultimately very well beaten. Great sportsmanship from those on board the 2 boats. And of course, tremendous celebrations can now begin.
Absolutely magic what this team has done. They have broken so many trends how they trained, where they trained, how they stayed away from the fray, the innovation in a boat that innovations, frankly, were trying to be eliminated. So you can't give this team enough credit.
Well, they have earned their celebrations. Peter Burling, the spearhead, catapulted into a whole new realm of stardom now, the youngest ever helmsman to win the Cup, but he and his men emulating the class of 1995 and 2000. And let's not forget Glenn Ashby, joining the ranks of the greats now, included in one of the most exclusive of clubs, a winning America's Cup skipper.
You got a little gap there.
So let's have a word with Peter Burling, the helmsman who has led the Kiwis to victory. Peter, congratulations. You can let it all out now. Tell us how it feels.
Yeah, you know, it's just unreal. It's exactly what we came here to do. And we're just on top of the world. You know, it's been 3 years of hard work from so many people on the team. You know, there's probably 100 people working at times. You know, straight at this goal. Beauty. And yeah, this is exactly what we came here for. So, we're on top of the world.
Peter, we'll let you soak this up for a second. Can you do us a favor and tell us a little bit, you know, Glenn Ashby, the guy that sits in front of you every day, just give us a little insight into Glenn and what he's done for the program and as the skipper of the boat and kind of the guy who had to take you from that last San Francisco event onto this one.
Yeah, you know, he obviously plays a massive part in what we do, but, you know, Blair as well, trimming the foil, Andy, and, you know, everyone in the whole team. You know, you can see how much we're all ecstatic about, you know, what we've managed to achieve here, and we're just absolutely on top of the world, so it's going to be a good night.
It's going to be a good night.
Peter, you know, I appreciate that bar Glenn Ashby, you guys weren't involved in San Francisco in 2013, but I'm sure that there are plenty in behind you for whom that was a major motivation. Just tell us what it means to lay that ghost to rest.
Oh, for sure, you know, and I definitely don't think we'd be here without that heartache of San Francisco, and it's something that Bermuda's put on an absolutely amazing event here. You know, you can't complain. The weather's been absolutely perfect, and it's something that, you know, we're just absolutely blown away by the, you know, support we've been getting on shore and back home, and, you know, we're really excited to share it with everyone now.
Peter, many congratulations. Enjoy your celebrations. It's been great watching you.
Yeah, thanks, mate.
And those celebrations will surely last long into the night. And after all the hours of training, the sacrifices that have been made, the time away from home, the intensity of this competition over the last 5 weeks, this champagne will taste pretty good.
I think what he said was it's going to be a big night. That could be. This kid has been the master of understatement. That might have been the biggest one yet.
So we pause for the Moet moment as Grant Dalton emerges, the CEO of Emirates Team New Zealand. Very much a guiding light.
Matteo Denora, the team principal.
We're gonna do it.
They say it's not about when you fall or how you fall, it's about how you pick yourself up again. And my word, New Zealand have done that as a sailing nation. Coming back from defeat 4 years ago to be so impressive here in this final, winning 8 races out of 9, the margin of victory 7-1. And they now can let everything out. They can celebrate, they can enjoy the champagne, they can take the praise, and they deserve it, because that never looked in doubt, even though USA actually got a decent start and led to Mark 1, which we thought was going to be crucial. Jimmy Spittle there with his head down. He knows this has been a disastrous campaign, and the aftermath will include a pretty brutal post-mortem, I suspect, into what went wrong. Shirley's out on the water, and Shirley, first of all, your reflections on New Zealand winning the America's Cup for only the 3rd time.
Oh, Claire, what an atmosphere it is here, and how fantastic to see them finally let out some emotion and celebrate. We can only imagine what it means to the sailors and to the nation. For Jimmy Spittle, he gave it a good shot. He won that start. He gave it everything, but they were no match for the innovation and the flawless technique and sailing of that incredibly young team. Paul, what do you think we're witnessing here?
Well, we're witnessing a changing of the guard. Oracle's had the cup for 7 years, and they were seriously outclassed. We kept hoping for a bit of a comeback, but it wasn't to be. The Kiwi team is just that much superior.
Mark, you can see the outpouring of emotion. You've worked with some fabulous sailors in your career. Just summarise what you make of this new generation here and of Pete Burling.
Well, as you said, it's a new generation. I think obviously technology-wise, but also the sailors, and fantastic to see. I mean, a 26-year-old delivering that and in such a cool, calm way. And he's not alone. There are other sailors that age now, and this kind of sailing, I think there is a whole new chapter. Whatever happens with the Cup going forward, we just established a whole new chapter in the sport.
Well, 4 years ago, we talked about a great comeback, but this is a massive comeback. The team behind us were destroyed. They built themselves up from the embers. And 4 years on, they have the America's Cup. It's almost filmic.
Yeah, and I think probably not everybody knows how close Team New Zealand came to just simply not existing going forward. You know, it's more than the comeback just on the water. The whole team to pull together after San Francisco, come back and win it in such emphatic style is overall a huge achievement.
There's going to be a nation celebrating. Claire.
And Captain Pete at the helm. Maybe that's what the film would be called, Captain Pete. He's done a magnificent job. But on the other side, Jimmy Spithill, who was trying to win the America's Cup for the third time in a row. Let's hear his response and his reaction to that defeat.
So let's have a word with Jimmy Spithill. Jimmy, commiserations. I know you will feel this very keenly, but what are your emotions right now?
Oh, look, we're disappointed, obviously. But first of all, full credit to Team New Zealand. I mean, man, what a series. Really, made few mistakes, and they fully deserve it, so our hats are off to them.
Jimmy, Team New Zealand showed up with a little different boat from everybody else. You guys all, the rest of the group did a lot of training together, kind of followed a similar path. Team New Zealand departed. Did you have a feeling that they might be onto something when they showed up here and kind of was showing off their cool new toys?
I think it's always hard to know. You know, there's always that anticipation, and they clearly, you know, they were down there training on their own, and man, you've really got to give credit to them. I mean, what an incredible job they've done. But let's not forget they also sailed very, very well.
First jibe, I mean, here you go. You're leading that mark #1, first jibe. Faster boat or a little soft in the maneuver? Take us through that moment, and was the writing on the wall right there?
Yeah, look, I mean, we were obviously pretty focused on getting to that reef mark in the first place today, and the boys did a great job there. Yeah, unfortunately, they were the quicker boat today, downwind for sure. It was very, very tough to keep close. I thought upwind the boats are a lot more competitive. I thought the boys were doing a great job tacking, but downwind they had the speed.
Well, Jimmy, it's been fun to watch all this. I mean, reflect. My goodness, how many America's Cups in a row now? And what's the future for Jimmy Spithill? Just take us for at least the next couple weeks and maybe couple months. How do you get over this? How does this work?
I'm not sure. I've just spent so much time and energy on really just one day at a time. But yeah, we'll just get back. I really want to go and thank, you know, the entire team, and we'll take it from there. But, you know, the boys have got to hold their heads up high. They've fought hard the whole way. Very proud of them, and yeah, we'll see what happens. Thanks very much, though, boys. Appreciate it.
Jimmy, thank you very much for your time. Congratulations on a tremendous campaign. As we said to Peter Burling, it's been fantastic watching you.
There seemed a little wobble there, didn't there, in Jimmy Spithill's voice? I mean, this is his 6th America's Cup campaign, and back in 2010, he became the youngest ever winner as a helmsman. But if that was a record then, it has been well and truly smashed by Peter Burling, and you can have a look here at the winning helmsman and their respective ages. Peter Burling at 26, the youngest. Jimmy Spithill on there twice. Obviously at 30, he was the youngest. Ed Baird there in 2007. 49. So, I mean, and Russell Coutts, all those wins for him from the age of 33 through to 41. And Dennis Conner back there in his 40s. And Buddy Melges, is that how you say it? How do you say it? Melges. Buddy Melges, 62 years old. So, Jimmy Spithill could look at that and take a lot of hope. He could still be going in 20, 30 years' time, who knows? We're going to have more reflection, and we are going to be seeing the America's Cup lifted by this team. Emirates Team New Zealand are successful in the 35th America's Cup. Join us again on BT Sport. It's the only place you'll see it after the break.
wherever you play.